because you have a lot to cover. Children, this is going to be an extended class, so sit tight and don't run away.
Yes,
This is
sir.
going to be a very
Okay.
good, interesting presentation, and you are going to love it. Okay, you are going to love it because, as far as I know, Shiny is one of the best out there. She must have done an immense amount of homework. Okay, so Shiny, stage is yours.
Yes, sir.
Please start.
Yeah. So before that, I just want to know, are there more pianists compared to guitarists in this session?
Yes, there's only one baby guitarist here, and that is
Okay.
Pratyush. That's it.
Okay, so then I'll start off by introducing the guitar. Okay, so
Okay, go ahead.
I'll press in my screen. Right.
Yeah, you can see your screen.
So
Go ahead,
am I
please.
audible?
Yes, you're audible, loud and clear.
All right,
Except that
great.
we can't see your face, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Yes,
Start.
sir. So we're talking about the piece Memories of Summer, Trinity Grade 5 classical guitar. The composer is Guy Ryan and the PPT is by me, Charis. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Charis and I'm a guitar student in Western Academy. Yeah. So first off, what we're going to learn today is about this piece, mainly Memories of Summer. So we'll start off by knowing the composer Guy Ryan and give an introduction to him. Later on, since most of you are pianists, I'm going to introduce you to the guitar and reading notes, and then we'll go on to the triple clef, then tempo markings and tempo, then about the time signature and notes and silent notes. And I'll also go through the dynamics, which is sort of a cheat sheet because you don't find this anywhere in the internet, okay? And this is related only to the piece Memories of Summer. Okay, so about this guy, the person you're seeing in your screen is Gary Ryan. He's the composer of the piece Memories of Summer. He was born in 1969, Orpington, UK. The genre is seasonal. Few of his albums include Vicious Vistas and Midnight Guitar. His record labels are Vanilla OMP and ABRSM. His popular piece could include Benga Beat. Okay, so Benga Beat, you can just go and search it out. It sounds really great. So now I'm going to introduce you to the guitar. Okay, so now you're seeing two guitars in your screen. The first one, which is labeled with all the parts, is an acoustic guitar. So the difference between an acoustic and a classical is that the fretboard is broader in a classical and there is no pick guard. And yeah, so now parts of a guitar is general for both classical and acoustic. Now the positioning of a guitar also varies based on the guitar. So now in general, a guitar is divided into three parts: the body, neck, and headstock. So the headstock comprises of nut, tuning pegs, and capstans. You can see them, it's labeled here clearly. This is the nut, and these are the tuning pegs, and this is the capstans. So then we've got a fretboard that comprises of frets, and the strings is the main thing part of the guitar. And then we've got the sound hole, the pick guard, and bridge and body. So now in classical guitar, as I'm a classical guitarist, the positioning from an acoustic to classical varies. Firstly, you've got a footstool in classical guitar where you raise your leg. So in turn, you raise the guitar where the headstock is in align with your head. Okay, so that's the positioning. You can take a look at this man here who's sitting in the right position for a classical guitar. So moving on is tuning the guitar. So if you're a beginner guitarist and want to learn the guitar or anything, the first thing is tuning the guitar. So now I've untuned my first two strings in the guitar so that I can show a demonstration. So let's take the first string, the high string E. So I'm going to tune this, okay? I've got to make it a little high. Yeah. So now it's in tune. Okay, that's the first string. Now the second string, I've also got to tune this. So I tune my guitar using the pegs, okay, tuning pegs, and I tighten or loosen the strings accordingly. Okay, so now my guitar is in tune. So the strings are E. Okay, so the first is E, then a B, and then a G, D, A, and E. Okay. So now that your guitar is set, we're going to proceed. Okay. So now these are the basic stuff you're supposed to do before playing a piece or anything. Okay. So now there are various tuners. The one on the screen is a plug-in tuner where you can just plug it on the guitar. So now reading guitar. Okay. Compared to piano, like the pieces in piano you learn, you've also got a bass clef, while in guitar you've got just the treble clef. Okay. So the bass clef is all cows eat grass, while the treble clef is FACE. Okay. So we're dealing just with the treble clef. So the note includes E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay. So it just goes on like that. So now the interesting bit about a treble clef is that it's also called a G clef. Okay. So if you were me, you would have thought this is a fancy S, but then it's actually a fancy G. Okay. Now, you can you see this? Let me get this pointer. Yeah, can you see this pointer where you can see this circle, right? It's going on this line. So it surrounds the note G. So that's one of the reasons why it's called G clef. Okay. Okay. Great. So going on. So that's the triple clef. So now we're going to learn about notes. As we're dealing with classical music, you've got to learn to read notes. So notes and silent notes are two types of notes in music. Silent notes do not make sound and have the power to silence notes. Notes make sound and produce music. Okay. So in turn, together with the mix of all these notes in the right tempo and the right time signature, you would produce beautiful music. So the first note is a whole note that's just a circle which comprises of 4 beats, and you've got a whole rest which is a brick floating on the roof. Okay, you would have seen this if you've read many pieces. So this is a whole rest and this is a whole note. Okay, so it's 4 beats. So here's a demonstration, and I'll be using just the E note. Okay, so first is a whole note. Okay, 4 beats. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I'll show you the whole rest. Okay, and I will play a whole note. Okay, so the whole rest comes between 2 whole notes. Okay, in this demonstration. So 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's a whole rest. Okay, if you heard there was a gap in between, but it was still going on beat. Okay, 4/4 metronome. Okay, so the next note is 2 beats. It's a half note. You've got a half rest and a half note. Okay, so here's the demonstration of both the note and the rest. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you find that I've given 2 rests in between. That's equal to a 4 beat rest. Okay, so that's the half note and the half rest. Now coming to the quarter note or a quaver rest. Okay, it comprises of 1 beat. Okay, so if I'm going the tempo or the time signature 4/4, okay, which I'm following for all these notes for now, the quarter note would sound this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I again gave 2 quaver rests in between, and the first bar was 4 quarter notes. Okay, so that's how it is. Okay, next we've got the 8th note or an 8th rest. So the 8th note comprises of half beat, and the rest also takes half beat. Okay, so this is how the 8th note is: 1, 2. Okay, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this, for one beat, you're playing two notes, okay, an eighth note. So that's the eighth note. And now for an eighth rest, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it just gives a half beat rest in between. Okay, now for the 16th note and the 16th rest, it goes 1 by 4 beat. Okay, so this is really fast. Um, but I'll try it, okay? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you play the note 4 times for one beat, okay? So that's the 16th note. And then we've also got a 16th rest that gives a rest for 1 by 4 beat, okay? So now that you know the notes and silent notes, we're going to go in depth, okay? Tempo markings and tempo. So the piece we're dealing with is Memories of Summer, as you can see. So now we've got to read this whole piece. So what's the first thing that you see? You see the title, Memories of Summer. Then we see the composer Gary Ryan, which we've also spoken about. Then we go and we see is written reflectively equal to 116. So what is it? What is reflectively and what is 116? Why did the composer write that? So that's exactly what we're going to figure out. So reflectively is the tempo marking and 116 is the tempo. Okay. So now if you've got a book and pen, I would like you to note this down because you're not going to find this definition anywhere. Okay. So the tempo tells you at what speed you are to play the piece, and the tempo markings define the musical expression of the piece based on the tempo. Now, for an example, you must have learned minuet. So it might have an tempo marking of allegro or moderato or andante. It could be one of these three, right? But if you're playing minuet fast, you'd go with a beat per minute of 109 to 132 tempo, right? So that's exactly what it's defining. 116 tells you that you're supposed to play this piece piece at the speed of 116. Okay, so tempo 116, and but at what speed? I can go at different speeds, right? I can go kilometer per hour, or I can also go meter per second, right? There are different units. What is the unit I'm following in this one, right? So there are different units in music too. So we've got to obey the time signature. Okay, that's exactly what the time signature tells you. So in this piece, we're dealing with multiple time signatures. So I'm going to explain you how to read the time signature. Okay, so this is bar number 1, which you see in the left. Time signature 4 by 4. So we start off the piece with time signature 4 by 4. So what is 4 by 4, right? So if you know fractions, the top number is the numerator and the bottom number is the denominator. Okay. So this session is mostly on music theory. I'll keep the practicals in the end of the session. So it'll be good if you're giving good ear to me. So the numerator is how many beats are in a bar. So what is a bar, right? So a piece is divided to many lines and each line is divided to many bars, okay? So how many beats are in a bar is the numerator, and the denominator defines what type of note gets the beat, okay? So in 4 by 4, what's the numerator, right? How many beats are in a bar? So let's take bar number 1. You can see I've drawn 4 red lines over it, right? So I've drawn 4 red lines. Why? Because there are 4 beats in the bar, okay? So I divide the bar to 4. But now I can divide the bar however I want, right? I can keep a small piece and then a huge piece and then a smaller piece, right? I can do that, right? But now I've got to tell where to divide it. So that's exactly why we've also got a denominator, right? Tells you what type of note gets the beat. So in 4 beats, so in 4 by 4, a whole note gets the beat. But in this case, we've got to learn mathematics, okay? Maths is there everywhere, including in music. So you can see that, okay, actually I'll cover this a little later with my notes, so it's much easier. So we're going to get to the dynamics and a cheat sheet, okay? So this is bar number 1. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is bar number
You need
1.
to get some quick
And
water because you've been speaking for the last 16 minutes. You can go get
yes,
yourself
sir.
some water quickly. Yeah, go ahead. That's
Thank you, sir.
brilliant what you've been doing so far. Just go get a sip of water. Children, I'm telling you, you will not find this kind of an explanation anywhere in YouTube. And I mean it very sincerely. He's done a genius work. And if you really listen to what she has done, she's literally compressed 1 year of study material into, I don't know how many minutes she's going to finish this, but it's amazing.
Okay.
Let her come.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So now,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're done?
back to bar number 1. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I drank water. Yeah, and thank you. Yeah. So bar number 1, we've divided the bar into 4 beats, right? So I've marked them with 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what type of note gets the beat? A whole note, because we're going with the time signature 4 by 4, right? But now I don't see many whole notes. I just see half notes, an eighth note, or a quarter note, right? Where is the whole note? There is no whole note in this bar. So that raises the question, who gets the beat, right? So mathematically, we've got to do this, okay? Now, we're going to go with the bass note here. The note C, which is the first note, C and E, and in between we've got a quaver rest, okay? And then we've also got a dot after the E. So what is the first note from the bottom, right? It's a C, right? Before D comes C. So D, the note D is a half note, so it takes 2 beats, right? It takes 2 beats. But now I've got a quaver rest with it, right, above it. So now what do rest notes do? As the definition I've given earlier, it has the power to silence a note, right? So now I silence the note by half, okay? So that gives me 1 plus half beat, right? So that's a quarter note plus an eighth note, okay? Now we don't have a note that's equivalent to a quarter note and an eighth note, right? And I've got to put it in 1 beat, and I've got to keep 1 note for 1 beat. I cannot place 2 notes together, right? And I need to play this particular note, C, right? I can't keep 2 C's and tell you to play it with 1 beat. So I have added the quaver rest to tell you to play the C for how much duration, right? What's the duration? It should go for 1.5 beat, okay? So ideally, if the quaver rest was not there, what would I play? Right? I would play this, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. But because of the quaver rest, okay, because of the quaver rest, I give a pause for half a beat, okay? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Could you hear the rest that I gave? So that's the quaver rest, okay? So if I were to play the first bar, I'm going to play it with the beats, okay? So you'd have to listen carefully and you'd have to also read the notes well, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's bar number 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I've given also a quaver rest, okay? So that comes to the next point. Okay, alright, there's a quaver rest, but why is there a dot after the note? And what is that dot? Okay, so it is not a staccato nor a legato because it's not above the note nor is it below the note, but it's rather side of the note. Okay, you can see the E note right above the quaver rest. So a dot after note makes the note longer, half the value of the note. Okay, so what note is that? The E note. It's a quarter note, right? So the E note is a quarter note. It has 1 beat. Now I've got the dot after the quarter note. So it's half of 1 beat, which is half, right? Half of 1 is half, right? So it's half. So it goes for 1 plus half. But now in this case, I've also got a quaver rest below it, right? So what does a quaver rest do? Or an eighth rest, right? It's also called an eighth rest. A quaver rest or an eighth rest. It gives half beat rest. And rest has the power to silence a note. So 1 plus half minus half is equal to 1, right? So it's 1. But if I hadn't not had that dot, what would the piece sound like? Or what would it be? What's the difference, right? You'd see that the note would travel for 2.5 beats. But the composer doesn't want us to do that. He wants us to play it exactly for 1 beat, okay? So that's exactly why he added a quaver rest. And he also added a dot, okay? So that's about time signature. And yeah, that's bar number 1. We've learned about the dot and a quaver rest, and we've also learned about the type of notes, okay? So the practical difference is that you resonate bass note 1 and mute it a half beat before the bass note played at the third beat. Okay, and I've also demonstrated it. So now we're going to my other notes. Before I get to the piece, these are a few basics that you are supposed to register in your brain. Okay, so if you can quickly just note it down, or you can just take a screenshot or take a pictures of whatever it is, or I can post this later on in Telegram for your reference. So, we learned about tempo markings, right? So, reflectively is a tempo marking. So, what exactly is reflective, or what is moderato, or andante, right? And how is it important to tempo 116? With the definition I gave you, it defines the music based on the tempo, right? The musical expression. So, reflectively, I want the music to sound resonated and reflective, right? So I can go on tempo, obey the time signature, but still play the music differently. Okay. Now here's the demonstration. Okay. So I can play like 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So did not resonate, right? And it didn't sound great too. So the author is telling us, or rather the composer, Gary Ryan, is telling us, I want you to play it reflective and hit the heart of all those people who are hearing this music, right? So that's reflective. So the piece would sound this way. Alright, so that's just a glimpse of how the piece would sound. So that's exactly what the tempo marking defines, okay? Next, we've got the tempo 116. Now, since we've learned about time signature, we've got the tempo. I can obey the time signature, but go at different tempo, right? I can go like perhaps the tempo of 28, which is like really slow. So it's like 1, 2, right? So that's really slow. But so Gary Ryan also defines the tempo in which we're supposed to go. You don't want to go too fast, nor do you want to go too slow, right? You want the music to sound as music. So the tempo is 116, so it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that's how it should be. Okay, so that's tempo 116. So since we learned about time signature, we should know that tempo and time signature go hand in hand. Okay. Then we also learned about the triple clef, why it's called the G clef. Then we also saw time signature 4x4. Now the next is mezzo piano. Okay, MP. You would have seen this even in piano music. MP written below, or the F, or anything else. So MP is fairly quiet, called mezzo piano. Then we'll come across different time signatures in this piece. We've also got a 3x4 time signature. Okay, so it's 3 beats each bar, and the type of note is a whole note, right? Because it's 4 beats. Then we've got a tie. Okay, so it's this arch from one note to the other. Now ties occur only with same notes in the same string and the same place. Okay, so I'll sustain the note till the next note or bar. Okay, so I do not repeat the note twice. So here's the demonstration. Okay, now the example I've given is E. In fact, this is from the third and fourth bar of the piece. Okay, so E. I'm going at the tempo 116, time signature 4x4. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, so it sustains. Okay, I would not play it this way. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So I don't play it twice, but I rather just play it once and sustain it. Okay, so that's a tie. Now, moving on, we've got few numbers on the strings, okay? Am I audible? Hello? I feel like I'm disconnected.
No, you're not disconnected. You're not
Okay.
disconnected. You're not disconnected.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, please continue.
Yes, sir. So now we're going on to the numberings. Okay. You find few numbers on near notes. So in this case, it's like 4, 0, and 1. Right? What do they define? So 0 is an open string. 1 is the index finger. 2 is the middle finger. 3 is the ring finger, and 4 is the little finger. Okay. So which finger do I put in which fret, right? So what are these fingers and what are the frets? Now, if you learn the parts of the guitar, I spoke about frets, right? So this is an open string, then index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and the little finger. If you'll excuse me, someone's at the door.
Shiny?
Shiny told that if you excuse her, she is going to the door. So you can answer the door.
There's a phone that's coming and she's answering it. Okay, fine.
Yeah, sorry for it.
That's okay. You can continue, dear.
Yes, sir. So we've got each finger for each fret, okay? So usually I'd use my first 4 fingers and my thumb would rest behind the fretboard, okay? And that's how you play the guitar, okay? So an open string is 0, so I don't use any of the fingers. And then the first fret takes the first finger, the second fret takes the second finger, the third fret takes the third finger, and the fourth fret takes the fourth finger, okay? So that's what it's telling us to do. So it's telling us which finger to use for which note. Okay. So moving on, we've got Roman numbers. Okay. In music, so we've got Roman number 3 and Roman number 6. So in this case, okay, if I'm taking Roman number 3, I will change my fingering now. Okay. So I learned that the first fret takes the first finger. But now the composer is telling to take your first finger for the third fret. So in turn, you'd keep your second finger for the fourth fret, the third finger for the fifth fret, and the fourth finger for the sixth fret, okay? Now here's a question, okay? In this case, A comes at first string, fifth fret, not third. So why the third fret, right? So that's a question which I'll come back to you, okay, later on. So it's a tricky question and it's a fun question too, okay? So moving on, we've got a crescendo that's like a pin sign. So it's from soft to loud. So an easy way to remember this, like a huge mega microphone or something, where you like, so it's like softer to louder, okay? So gradual increase in volume of a musical passage, okay? Then we've got MF, that's mezzo forte, that's moderately loud, okay? So you play a note moderately loud. Now we've also come across mezzo piano, right, before? Yeah, mezzo piano is fairly quiet, mezzo forte is moderately loud, okay? Now, here's the tricky one, okay? Now we've got many markings in these 3 notes, right? So what is 5? I see Roman number 5. So it's telling us to go from 5th fret onward, okay? Now what does it mean from 5th fret onward? I keep my first finger for the 5th fret, second for the 6th, third for the 7th, and fourth for the 8th fret, okay? So that's what it's telling, 5th fret. Now 0, 1, 2, right? Those numbers. So 0 is open string, 1 is index finger, 2 is middle finger, right? So it's telling you which finger to use too, okay? Now 3 circle and 2 circle, what is that, right? Now in guitar, similar to piano, I have notes repeated, okay? I have an E in the first string and I also have an E in the second string, right? Like you've got an E at the right side of your piano and you've also got an E at the left side of your piano, right? Similarly, it's similar even in guitar, okay? So you've got to play the note in the third string and the other note in the second string, right? Then we've also got a quarter rest. Now what's a quarter rest? It has a power to silence a note for 1 beat. Okay, so that's a quarter rest. We've covered an eighth rest, right? Now I want you to decode the quarter rest similar to how I decoded the first bar, okay? Now, similar to crescendo, you've also got diminuendo, okay? Now, diminuendo is a gradual decrease in volume of a musical passage, okay? Like how crescendo was a gradual increase, diminuendo is a gradual decrease. So it's like from loud to soft, okay? So it's like a greater than or smaller than sign, okay? So I think in first standard you have learned, okay? So it's like crocodile's mouth is open, right? So it's like the mouth that is open is huger than the base of the mouth, right? The throat. So it's like from big to small, okay? Next is the half rest that takes for 2 beats, right? I've already covered this too. So a half rest is like a brick fallen down on the floor. So that's the half rest and it gives a rest for 2 beats. Now, half C5. What is C and what is 5 in this case, right? Now, in guitar, in chords especially, we've got bar chords, okay? So if I'm doing half C5, I bar 3 strings in 5th fret. Now, this bar is different from the bar in music, okay? Like, what do you know? Like, many bars comprise a line in a piece of music, right? But this bar is that I'm going to hold multiple strings in a single fret, okay? So let me take a demonstration of the F chord. I'm going to bar the first full fret, okay? So that's going to be C1, okay? C, Roman numeral 1, okay? So C stands for bar, okay? So bar first fret, okay? I'm going to hold all the strings of the guitar in the first fret using my first finger, okay? So it will sound this way. But the F chord sounds like this, okay? So it's like a bar chord, right? So half CV is that I just cover 3 strings and 5 is the 5th fret. So I cover the first 3 strings of the 5th fret, right? So it sounds like this. These are the first 3 strings barred in the 5th fret, right? And I use just one finger to play 3 notes, okay? So that's how it is. So C1 is, so few other examples are like C1, that's bar first fret, and then half C2 is like bar 3 strings. So first 3 strings is like the high strings, okay? The strings that you go from bottom to top, so it's like E, B, and G, okay? These are the 3 strings that you bar when you get a half C, okay? Then 1 by 3 C4. Now, half is like half of 6 because I've got 6 strings, right? So half of 6 is 3. Now 1 by 3 C4. Now this is tricky, right? Now what's 1 by 3 of 6? Right, 2. Okay, so 6 by 3. 3 twos are 6. So I bar 2 strings in the 4th fret as the Roman number says 4. Okay, so it's the first 2 strings. Okay, so that's how you decode it. Okay, so right, so now that we're done with a few of these basics, we've got just one more slide. Okay, that's this slide, right? So we've got this slide, and after this it's going to be sort of a quiz type for reading the musical passage after I've done this. Now I've spoken about a tie, and now you've also got to understand what is a slur. Okay, now tie is a note that sustains to the next bar without playing the same note twice, right? Now what is a slur? I mean, the sign is similar. It's an arc or an ulta bow from one note to the other, right? But how do I identify a tie or a slur? So here's the thing. A tie can occur with same notes in same fret number same fret number or an open string. Okay. So let's take E. This is a tie. I don't play it twice. I just play it once. Okay. I don't change the position of the string, right? Or let's take an example of F, the note F. Okay. I play the note F without changing the position and it's a tie, right? But if I were to change the position, like if I were to keep a tie from F to G, that's not practical, right? I cannot tie that because it's in the same string, okay, in the same string. F, and G. It's like E, F, G. How do I tie F and G? It compels me to play both the notes, right? And each note gets one beat. So, in that case, musicians decided to call it a slur, okay? Let's take an example of E to G. So, this specific case is called a slur, okay? Two different notes. You're playing two different notes in the same string, okay? So slurs can occur with different notes in the same string. So that's E to G. Again, I don't play the second note. I just hammer it, okay? I just hammer it because based on the metronome, it's just hammering. Or I could also play it like this. Since it's a slur, I hammer it. So more about time signature, okay? So in this particular piece, Memories of Summer, we come across 4 time signatures. That's 4x4, 3x4, and 3x2 time signature. Okay. So what is 3x2 or 3x2 time signature? Right? It doesn't make sense to fractions, right? 3x2, 3 of 2. Like, how can you get 3 chocolates out of 2 chocolates? Well, so if you heard my definitions, it's not a fraction, okay? So the top number equals to how many beats are in a bar, right? So 4x4, 4 beats in a bar. And the bottom number, that's the denominator, defines what type of note gets the beat. So in 3x2, there are 3 beats in the bar, okay? And a half note gets the beat. Now, why is it a half note, right? So we know half note takes 2 beats, right? So if you learn about half note, it takes 2 beats. So in this case, 2 quarter notes can get 1 beat. Now, quarter note has 1 beat, right? So half note is 2 beats and 2 quarter notes is 1. So quarter plus quarter is equal to half, right? So 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So it's as easy as that, okay? So that's how you determine on which note gets the beat, okay? So that's about 3x2 time signature. Okay, moving on. Similar to mezzo piano and mezzo forte, we've got forte, that means loud and strong, okay? Now PP is pianissimo, that's very soft. And then RAL is rallentando, that's gradual slowdown in your musical passage. Okay, now again, coming back to the classical guitar, you see this wavy line, right, covering all these whole notes. Well, that tells you to strum all notated pitches rather than play them one at a time. But in classical guitar, we just pluck them all together, okay? So it's like that. So that's what you do. Okay, so now since we're done with the theory, right? We're done with the theory. We're moving on to the piece, okay? Memories of Summer. So based on whatever I've taught you as a tutor for now, you should be able to define everything in this piece, okay? Now, reflectively is reflectively defines on how you are supposed to play the piece, right? Defines the musical passage, right? And tells you have to play it resonatively. So it's the tempo marking reflectively. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate the whole piece. Okay, so it's like 2 pages. It's really short. Okay. Now I want you to open this. Okay, it's there in Files in Telegram, grade 5, and you can see through the whole piece. I've covered all the topics. Okay. Now, firstly, I want to show you that this piece has multiple time signatures. Okay. Oops. Oh dear. Okay. So it goes like from okay,
Shiny,
I want you to focus on the first 3 bars.
you've completed the theory, right? We'll do one
Yes,
thing. We'll
sir.
stop it here, and tomorrow we'll take up with the practicals. Can you do a session tomorrow as well?
So can I take just 5 minutes?
Okay.
I'll finish the whole session.
I'm sorry to stop. Stop. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So just 5 minutes, okay? I just want to show you this one point, and then I'll play the whole piece with all the dynamics covered in it, okay? So now this piece has 3 to 4 time signatures. Now the first 3 bars itself have 2 time signatures, okay? 4x4, 3x4, 4x4. Now I want you to hear the numbers that I'm telling and how it's going on beat, okay? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So now I've got multiple time signatures, but the tempo is 116, okay? So that's how I play the first 3 bars and how they actually come in one accord. So yeah, so now I'm going to perform the whole piece, Memories of Summer. Okay. And this includes all the dynamics, including slurs, hammers, crescendo, diminuendo, mezzo forte, mezzo piano, pianissimo, rallentando, and all the stuff, okay? Right. Yep, and with
Very
that,
good.
we end our session.
Very good. Shiny. Ah, I
Thank you,
really
sir.
like it the way you took command. You know, in between she said this. Well, I've been your tutor for this entire session. I like that word. I really
Thank
liked
you.
it. Sam heard it too, right? That was really good. Children, I don't know if you understand what this means, but the theory that she's taught, it's almost equal to 1 years of, it's a lot, 1 year of studies. It's so much of theory
So
work that
once
she's done.
I just need to tell something to Shiny. Like that song called Summer Memories really made me remember of the summer memories.
Oh, that's good.
Like it
Good work.
actually made me remember the summer memories.
So it
All
wouldn't
right.
have and use the dynamics, so that's the theory.
Okay, we need to start. We need to start the voice class as well. So quickly, any appreciation? Share it right now, please. Right now, quickly. Sam, go ahead.
I was amazed by that because I thought I knew a little bit of guitar. Now I know a lot about guitar. Good job.
That's good. Good. Anybody else? Quickly raise your hand. Pratyush wants to say? No? Okay. All right, children. So let's wrap up. Shiny from my side. Thank you so much. Awesome. Really good work. Really good work. I'm impressed. Good. Bye, children.
Bye, sir.
Yeah.
Bye.